getting our theological questions answered, or at least, giving it our best shot. With Geoff Macpherson from Grace Theological College this morning.
Good morning, Geoff. And look, a curly question has come through, and I've got to confess it's not something that I would have thought of asking you, but Lee has gone there, and he has asked the question, if God is light and darkness is a theme of evil, why did God create darkness and night when he created the world? Why wasn't it just created with light all the time? And then why do we hear about darkness included at the fall? So, Geoff, you're happy to tackle this one?
Great to be with you again. Yeah, so this is, there is so much in the Bible about this, and I'm really grateful for this question to sort of lead me down this garden path and start thinking about it. Light versus darkness in the Bible occurs over 200 times. So where do we start? Yeah, God is described as light. So God, he dwells in unapproachable light. And you read things like, Lord, lift up the light of your face upon us. So what that does is it hints at the fact that, there's layers of meaning in this idea of light and darkness, particularly around light. So, so that question, it has taken us back to the beginning, creation, so we read in the Bible, Genesis 1, that in the beginning, the earth was formless and void, and what? Darkness covered the face of the deep. And what was the first thing God did?
Let there be light.
Yeah. So God said, let there be light, and there was light. So God created light. And so what happens when you turn on a light in a bedroom or in a dark room? The darkness goes, doesn't it? It disappears. So darkness is the absence of light. And, one of the things you read about it is that when God creates light, what does he say? God saw that it was good. God preferred the light to the darkness.
Does that imply that there was something bad going on before God made the world?
No, I don't think so, because God is the one who, he creates it. It's not as if there was some big cosmic battle. That would be like more of a sort of a pagan idea, that there was a battle between darkness and light, and somehow God managed to conquer darkness, but rather that God is fully in control. He creates everything out of nothing. And when he first creates, there's kind of this formlessness and this void and this darkness, and then God brings order to it.
Actually, there's an interesting idea in that, and I'm going to try and make sure I can ask this as articulately as I can, Geoff, so bear with me here. But there is an idea of, like you say, these equal and opposite forces that maybe we take from, maybe think of Tao Buddhism, for example, where you've got this, there's the good and the bad, and the two are constantly dueling with one another. But the idea that God gives us is not so much that there is a force of good and a force of evil. There is the presence of God and the absence of God.
Yeah.
And that is more the idea that's in keeping with Christian theology. As opposed to that idea of, one fighting the other and which one's going to win, or are they always locked in this eternal struggle between the two?
Yeah. So Moses, writing Genesis and throughout the Bible is really wanting you not to be under this impression that somehow there's this cosmic big battle that's going on and God sort of just wins or anything like that. God is the creator. If God doesn't create, there is nothing. So that, he's the one who brings light into this darkness. He brings something out of nothing. So darkness is kind of the opposite of light. It's also, the opposite of life. Darkness kind of depicts in the Bible like chaos and separation and death. And then it becomes like a picture of sin and evil. So God sets a boundary. In Job, it says God sets a boundary between the light and the darkness. That question is the question is correct to say that darkness actually then becomes a metaphor for sin.
It's really fascinating. But I also have this picture in my mind based on what you just said about how God just created something and how he just snaps his fingers and then there's a huge bang, and then all of a sudden there's like order, and there's this planet and the universe and the solar system, and it's just like marvelous when you think about that. But I guess it does raise the question too, with God and his supreme power, and he created this amazing world that we live in, and he gave us this beautiful opportunity to be with him in heaven through Jesus Christ. But the idea that, I guess the thing that all Christians probably struggle with is why did he allow for us to fall? Why did he allow for us to experience that darkness and that sin?
Yeah, so that's great. So the question is, why does God allow darkness. So I don't think that physical darkness in and of itself is not evil or bad. As I said, God brings light and light banishes darkness, but then it gets used as a metaphor. So why did God allow the fall? Why did God allow sin into the world? I don't know the answer to that question, except God is all wise and all good and all powerful, and he allows it for his glory, for his honor. So his light would be seen to be brighter than everything else.
Yeah, and look, I think too, it's one of those areas where you fall into the character of God. When in doubt, that is, I guess, why we're given the person of Jesus and how he's described through the Gospels and his character unveiled through the Old Testament, right? Is that you will come up against questions like this one, which I think is a very genuine one, that says, hey, look, why are things the way they are, right? Like, it's kind of the umbrella question of why did God do it this way? It doesn't seem like the best way to do it to me, to which we kind of have to go, well, yep, it might look like that. And this is where you kind of have to trust in God's character more than maybe your ability to connect the dots on this makes perfect sense in my mind, right?
Yeah, if 1 John 1:5 says, this is the message we have heard from him and proclaimed to you, God is light, and in him there is no darkness at all. So the Bible's really clear on that. There's no darkness in God. God doesn't create darkness, but he allows this darkness, which we refer to as sin.
You were talking about darkness and light and how God is only good and how he created light. And then there was the fall. Adam and Eve sinned and they became, I guess, shunned from the presence of God and being in that light. So it got me thinking about the fact that as human beings, we are sinful and imperfect. So when it comes to being faced with the glorious, pure, holy presence of God, we actually cannot face it. And you see that in the Bible when Moses goes and talks to God, and then even he comes back and his face is so bright that people can't even look at him. He has to veil his face. So what does that kind of mean when we think about who we are as sinful human beings, and then who God is and his perfection, and then how Jesus comes in and he actually creates that bridge between us and God?
Yeah. So I quoted that verse before, which talks about the fact that God dwells in unapproachable light. I've been reading in my morning Bible readings through the book of Ezekiel, and Ezekiel is full of these just mind-blowing, surrealistic depictions of the glory of God. And it's kind of, he talks about the likeness of this, and it's because he's struggling for words to describe, what he's actually seeing. And that's kind of just a reminder, isn't it, that God, as you say, light, God is light, and his, when you reference Moses, when Moses would go into the presence of God, his face would shine and it terrified everyone. And, that's why you have the tabernacle and all those strict rules around the tabernacle and then the temple, because of God's holiness. Ordinary people like you and I, we just can't bowl up to God. However, this is the exciting part for us as Christians. This is the gospel, isn't it? Jesus, what did Jesus say? I am the light of the world. Whoever follows me will not walk in darkness, but will what? Have the light of life. So that's the really cool part for us as Christians, is that through the Lord Jesus Christ, he is the Messiah sent from God to bring the light. He says, I am the light of the world. And yet we have that relationship with God through him. And that for us, that's the only way. That's the only way. And that's the only way we can have any kind of connection with God. We can only come into God's presence through Jesus.
I hate to kind of quote like an X-Men movie, but it kind of reminds me of Scott Summers and the whole wearing the glasses, protecting him from obviously wiping out. But in our position, we're in the other side where Jesus is like our glasses. He protects us from these powerful beams of light that could literally burn us up in one go. But we have this amazing, gift of salvation through him, which means that we can boldly approach the throne of God.
Well, I mean, here's the thing, though, and I'm curious to know your thoughts on where this is going this morning as well, too, Geoff, because when we consider that, like our ability to approach God as well, I feel like, at least in my own faith journey and something I've observed, is that it can be really hard for us to accept the extent to which Jesus has made it possible for us to approach God. Like even I think it's in, is it Peter or in John, where it talks about how, we can boldly approach the throne. And, sometimes there's that sense of, but first you've got to make sure you do like a full inventory of sin in your life, and you've got to make sure that none of your thoughts are wrong, and then maybe you can stand before God for 5 seconds before you get incinerated.
Hose yourself down, have a good shower, make sure that you're as pearlescent as possible.
But what I think the message that the gospel is trying to get across is, like, you really don't understand the extent to which you are a new creation, to the point where you can literally boldly come into the presence of God, not because you're amazing, but because Jesus is. But it's, in some ways, it's as simple as that.
Can I quote another verse? Ephesians 5:8. For at one time you were darkness, but now you are light. What? In the Lord, meaning in Jesus, walk as children of light. So you're right, absolutely right. It's only in Christ. It's in his righteousness, meaning his light that he gives to us, that we can approach God. And don't forget this, is that the Lord Jesus, he's ascended to heaven, and he's continuing to advocate on our behalf. He's interceding for us at the Father's right hand. And so, we've got the A team, you might say. There's no one better to advocate for us, to say, hey, Andrew, he's okay because he's in me. He and I, we are one. We're joined together. I pay for his sin. My righteousness applies to him. He's in my light. He has my light in his heart.
That's a brilliant picture. That's a brilliant picture to hold on to. Hey, Andrew and Kat down there and Geoff, they're okay. I know them. They're good with me, so we can bring them in. Well, wonderful stuff. And thank you so much, Geoff, for unpacking this really huge topic about the idea that God is light. He made the world, and he lovingly gave us free will so we can accept this incredible invitation to salvation through Jesus Christ.